You ever been in a job, or maybe even a family situation, where you just knew you had to get out, but you couldn't see an exit? Well, turns out that's not a new problem. In fact, it's right at the heart of this ancient story about ambition, family, and what might be one of the most intense exit negotiations ever. So let's dive into this masterclass on how to leave a toxic situation.
The whole thing starts not with a big explosion, but with whispers, these poisonous words from Jacob's brothers-in-law. See, for 20 years, Jacob has been working for his uncle Laban, and he's gotten really successful. But instead of a pat on the back, all he gets is jealousy. They're not just saying he's rich, they're saying he stole it. And that resentment, that's the first crack in a relationship that's about to completely fall apart.
All right, to really get what's going on here, we're going to walk through the 5 key moments of this whole drama. We'll start with the breaking point that forces Jacob to act, then the wild chase across the desert. After that, the big confrontation, complete with a shocking accusation. Then we get to the moment Jacob just lets loose with 20 years of frustration. And finally, the really strange way they make a kind of peace.
Every great escape story has that one moment, right? The breaking point. For Jacob, it wasn't just one thing. It was this perfect storm of him reading the room and, well, getting a direct order from the highest authority there is.
And what's so fascinating is how these two different things are pushing him out the door. On the one hand, it's just pure human instinct. Jacob looks at his father-in-law Laban and can just see that the vibe has changed. The goodwill is gone. He can feel the danger. But on the other hand, he gets this divine nudge. It's time to go home. And don't worry, I've got your back. It's this perfect combination of earthly fear and heavenly confidence.
But here's the thing, Jacob can't just pack a bag and leave. He's got 2 wives, Rachel and Leah, who, remember, are Laban's own daughters, and a whole bunch of kids. So what does he do? He calls his wives out to the fields for a private meeting and lays out his case. And man, is he smart about it. He breaks it down point by point. 1, here's the problem. Your dad hates me now. 2, here's the history. The guy's cheated me on my salary 10 times. 3, here's the proof we'll be okay. God has been protecting us. And 4, here's the final word. I have a direct command to leave. It's a killer pitch.
And how do his wives take it? They are 100% on board. And their answer tells you everything you need to know about how they're feeling. They basically say, what inheritance? Dad treated us like we were strangers, sold us to you, and then spent all the money. To them, Jacob's success isn't theft, it's justice. It's their money he's got. So yeah, their loyalty is firmly with their husband now.
So with his family backing his play, Jacob makes his move. The timing is absolutely perfect. Laban is off shearing sheep, which is a huge deal, kind of like harvest time. It means he's distracted and away from home. So under the cover of all that activity, Jacob gets everybody and everything together, crosses the river, and starts the long journey home. The escape is officially on.
But let's be real, an escape is only half the battle. You also have to not get caught. And Jacob's head start is about to disappear real fast, kicking off this intense 7-day chase scene straight across the desert.
Okay, get this. It takes 3 days for anyone to even tell Laban that Jacob is gone. Can you imagine the rage? He immediately grabs his relatives and takes off after them. And this is not a short trip. Jacob has a 3-day lead, but he's moving slow with a huge family and herds of animals. Laban is traveling light and fast, and he chases him for 7 solid days, finally catching up to him hundreds of miles away.
Now, just as Laban is about to pounce, probably ready to get violent, something totally unexpected happens. God shows up in Laban's dream with a very clear warning. Hey, be careful. Don't you dare threaten Jacob. Don't even try to sweet-talk him. This is the game changer. This one little dream completely flips the power dynamic. Laban shows up with his posse ready for a fight, but suddenly his hands are tied. He can't use force. All he has left are his words.
And that brings us to the main event. 2 powerful guys squaring off on a remote mountain with their entire family's future hanging in the balance. And it all kicks off with a storm of accusations.
Laban's opening line is a masterclass in making someone feel guilty. Notice he doesn't ask, "Why did you leave?" No, he says, "You tricked me and you dragged my daughters away like they were prisoners of war." He's trying to paint this picture of himself as the poor, heartbroken father who didn't even get to throw a goodbye party. He's making Jacob out to be a monster.
But Jacob's answer is simple, and it's brutally honest. He says, I was afraid. He knew that if he'd asked to leave, Laban would have just said no and taken his wives and children away from him by force. He didn't sneak away to be mean. He snuck away because he knew exactly how controlling Laban was. And then Laban drops his bombshell. This suddenly isn't just about a family dispute. He accuses Jacob of stealing his gods. Now, these were these little household idols, but they were a huge deal. They weren't just religious statues, they were tied to inheritance rights, kind of like the deed to the family property. Stealing them was a massive offense. It was a religious crime and a financial one. This is a very serious accusation.
Well, Jacob knows he's innocent, and he is absolutely furious. And in his anger, he says something incredibly reckless. He tells Laban, "Search everything, and if you find your gods with anyone here, that person dies." Oh, the irony! It is so thick, because we know the one thing Jacob doesn't. His favorite wife, Rachel, is the one who took them.
So Laban starts tearing the whole camp apart, tent by tent. He gets to Rachel's tent, and she pulls off this brilliant move. She's hidden the idols in the camel's saddle, and she's just sitting on it. Then she looks at her dad and says, "Sorry, Dad, can't get up. You know, it's that time of the month." Now, in that culture, that was a perfectly valid excuse that no man would ever question. And just like that, he's totally stumped. The search is over. She completely outsmarted him.
Okay, so the whole dynamic just shifted. Big time. Laban's huge accusation of theft completely failed, and now he looks like an idiot. And Jacob, feeling totally justified and still furious, finally lets him have it. 20 years of pent-up frustration is about to come pouring out.
He starts with the number, 20. For 20 years, he says, "I have been with you." And he breaks it down. 14 of those years were just to earn the right to marry your 2 daughters, and the other 6 were to build up my own flock of animals. Think about that. An entire generation of his life given to this one man.
And what was it like? He paints this absolutely brutal picture of his life. Scorching heat all day, freezing frost all night, barely sleeping. He says he had to personally pay for any animal that was killed by a predator or was stolen, which was not the standard deal. And on top of all that, Laban kept changing the terms of his pay 10 times. This isn't just complaining. This is a full-blown indictment of a terrible, exploitative boss.
After a speech like that, Laban has absolutely nothing to say. He can't deny any of it. So instead of apologizing, he shifts gears into damage control. The fight is clearly over. Now it's time to negotiate the terms of the divorce, so to speak.
So they decide to make something called a covenant. And it's really important we get what this means. This is not a friendly handshake and a let's agree to disagree. A covenant is a serious, legally binding treaty. It's a formal contract, and in their case, they're calling on God himself to be the witness.
And look at the terms of their deal. It is all about creating distance. They pile up a big heap of stones to serve as a physical line in the sand. This border means neither man can cross it to hurt the other. Then Laban adds his own conditions, with God as the enforcer. "Jacob, you better not mistreat my daughters, and you can't marry any other women." You can almost feel Laban trying to claw back some control here. He's lost, but he's still trying to lay down the law to protect his daughters and probably his own ego.
They seal this tense agreement with a meal, which was the standard way to finalize a treaty back then. And the next morning, there's no hugging, no tearful reconciliation. Laban just kisses his kids and grandkids, gives them a blessing, and goes home. And Jacob continues on his way. Just like that, the 20-year saga is over. It's a formal, final, and very cold separation.
You know, this whole story leaves us with a really fascinating question. Jacob and Laban, they never made up. They didn't find forgiveness. What they did was build a wall of stones between them and promise to stay on their own side of it. And it makes you wonder, right? Sometimes, is the path to real peace not about building a bridge, but about drawing a really clear boundary?